wrong, Clint?
No, just the same thing that's been wrong for some time. I just know that I got to try and track down Ginny before she gets too far out of town.
Well, then go to it. And when you find her, I wish you'd tell me why she means so much to you.
Well, you might say she means the whole world to me. My whole world. Wish me luck.
Ginny! Ginny! God, you are back!
Please.
I beg your pardon.
I'm sorry. It's just that I was so worried when I heard you'd left town.
You were?
Yes. And, well, I'm glad you're back.
Gracious. You left town before I did, sir.
Well, that's right. But, well, now I'm back. And you're back. And I'm glad.
Jenny, I never expected to see you again. What happened to your free ride?
Oh, well, those people that were going to take me back east, I realized once we left, they were really much too kind, you see. They were desperately short of provisions and money and everything else they needed to complete the trip. And having me along was really only an added burden.
Well, you got out of the buckboard and hooked it back here?
No, I gave them money in return for bringing me back here, you see. I can certainly wait for the next scheduled stagecoach.
Well, that is darn nice of you, Jenny. I wish other folks would be as considerate of other people's feelings.
Well, now that you're back, I'd sure be pleased if you'd join me in a glass of sarsaparilla. You must be very thirsty from the trip.
Actually, I came in only to tell Blaze that I was back. I must get to the hotel, see if I can get my room back.
Oh, Blaze can do that, can't you, Blaze?
Well, actually,
No. And while you're at it, would you get something hot for us to eat over there at the kitchen? Miss Ginny must be starving.
Actually, a little lunch would not be unwelcome.
There, you see? Well, go on, Blaze.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, come on, I'll tell you what, I was really, sit down. I was, really worried that I wasn't going to be able to see you, that I'd lost track of you forever, and that would have been a tragedy.
Oh, well, I hardly think a tragedy.
No, take my word for it. It would have been a tragedy. But the thing is, now you're back, and, well, all I can say is I have never been happier to see any one person in all my born days.
A teacher of 10-year-olds, professional spinster non-parée. Why should you be interested in my life story?
Miss Fletcher, you would be amazed at how one life can affect so many lives and change them forever.
You're quite certain this would not be boring for you?
Boring? Not even a little bit. Now, all I know so far is that you left your job and your home in San Francisco, and you're on your way back to your roots in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. Got to be more to your life, to your saga than that.
My saga?
Your saga.
Good heavens. Well, I suppose my life has possibly been as dull as many, and probably even a bit lively at times.
I'll bet on it. Go on.
Well, there's hardly much to tell. We lived very modestly, my mother, my father, and me. A simple home for simple folk who had gone west to find a better life.
And did you find a better life?
No, we found that life was equally as hard in California as it had been in Missouri. In fact, possibly a little harder. My mother was injured on the trip west, and she remained bedridden for the rest of her days.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But I believe it was God's will. And so I cared for my mother, and I also managed to get an education. Thank you.
And, your father?
Well, I believe the burden fell heaviest upon my father. He felt guilty, I suppose. That led to intemperance. Eventually, his vices caught up with him, and he passed on.
Well, I guess you were left to care for your mother, and that can make life pretty tough on a young woman.
Yes, my mother could be very demanding at times. In fact, the Bible says, honor thy mother and thy father, and I did. And when she passed on, I felt free, finally, to leave San Francisco.
Is that the only reason? That you left San Francisco?
Oh, gracious Blaze, that looks so heavy. Let me help you.
That's not the reason you have to go back. It's for the woman. She's yet to learn about love. And if she doesn't, you will never see your family again.
Clint?
Oh, looks delicious. Blaze, you've outdone yourself.
So have you. Enjoy.
Is there a particular reason that Blaze is so angry with you?
With me? Can't be with me. Probably, she and Buck had a spat. You know how newlyweds are.
I'm afraid where newlyweds are concerned, I am as ignorant as my third graders.
Well, now, you know, I find that hard to believe. And how does a woman as lovely and intelligent as you go through her life without having been married?
Mr. Buchanan, you're making fun of me. There's really no reason to do that.
No. No, I'm sorry. I wasn't making fun of you. I didn't mean to embarrass you. I only meant that.
Oh, that's all right. I realize you were only trying to be kind. You asked if there was another reason that I had left San Francisco. I've never told this to anyone, but I think I would like to tell it to you.
And those kids gave you apples every morning? I'll bet you were one whale of a teacher.
Oh, well,
Well, nothing. I'll just bet on it. I'll bet you were the belle of the Good Shepherd Country Day School.
You are teasing me. I'm hardly a belle.
I'd like to talk to some of the male teachers about that. I'll bet that every male teacher in that school noticed you. I'll bet that every red-blooded man in San Francisco noticed you.
No, not at all. I never will. There was one.
Ha! I knew it. So now the lady's going to finally get to the good stuff. Who was it?
Oh.
Come on.
Randolph was a very impressive gentleman. He was very tall and handsome and had a wry sense of humor. In fact, he was the only other man I ever met who thought that I was funny. That is, aside from you.
Well, you're a lot more than just funny, Miss Fletcher. I'll bet he thought so, too. So you said his name was Randolph?
Yes, Randolph Llord.
Llord?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very distinguished name.
Oh, he came from a very distinguished family. They came over on the Mayflower, and they settled on both coasts and opened several businesses. Randolph runs the railroad.
Mm-hmm. And this very distinguished, very handsome gentleman, he was courting you, was he?
But yes, I suppose you could say that. He kept asking me to join him for an evening on the town. I was then caring for my mother, and she hated for me to leave her alone at nights.
Well, you were certainly entitled to one night.
Yes, that's what I told her. It was for the opening night of the opera, The Magic Flute. I wanted so badly to go with Randolph.
Did you?
Yes, I did. Mother was terribly upset. You see, after he passed away, she became very embittered towards men, and she thought that I was making a terrible mistake by going out with Randolph.
And leaving her alone for one night.
Mother was not only selfish, she was a very sick woman. However, I followed my heart, and I went to the opera.
Good for you. I bet you had a wonderful time, too, didn't you?
It was enchanted. The gowns and the music and the champagne. I couldn't wait to get home and tell my mother what a gentleman Randolph had been. How he was really quite different from Father. Really a man to be trusted. I went straight to her bedroom when I got home.
Oh, and what?
I thought at first that she was asleep. And then I noticed that there was an empty bottle of pills on her bedside table. I ran for help immediately, and fortunately, we got Mother to the hospital in time to save her. But I never